Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnackit.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnackit.sbnation.com.
This is the Black Gold Banneret Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Jeff Sharon and Eric Lopez.
Welcome to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon with you here along with Eric Lopez. We've also got the student of the game, Kyle Nash. We have the college football hipster, Drew Glukov, with you. I knew you would like that.
You're
Bryson
the
Turner's
only
going to join
person
us
who
later.
uses that. Only person.
You know why I use it? Because it was the first one I remembered.
Because you made it up.
It's a busy week. Of course, of course. The Leroy Jenkins of UCF Twitter Mafia himself, Drew Glukov. I know that's the one you really like. Anyway,
Actually, I prefer the Agent of Chaos, but you know,
the agent. No. I'm not giving you that one.
The master of the non sequitur. See,
the master of the
did I bring that up? That this non sequitur has happened at your hands, Drew. See what I did there?
Speaking of non sequiturs, as I pull it back to teasing what we're going to talk about on this podcast, we've got football getting their feet underneath them in a big way at Florida Atlantic and facing a beleaguered Georgia Tech squad on Saturday. We're going to preview that game. We also have a special guest on the podcast, Latavius Murray, joining us, one of 5 inductees into the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame. Latavius joins us fresh off of working out, as he had just prior to us talking to us, had signed with the New Orleans Saints to go back to the Big Easy and play again. So Kyle and Bryson were in for that. And then later on, Bryson's going to join us to talk about a whole grab bag of stuff. Basketball schedules, 2 ranked teams, soccer, volleyball, golf, breaking records left and right. Crazy week of UCF sports. But we begin with the good news. UCF taking it to Florida Atlantic, especially in the second half down in Boca. We were worried about whether or not this could be a trap game, gentlemen. Kyle Nash is shaking his head because he's about to throw something. But no, all of that stuff just didn't matter. It was a little dicey off the beginning. Florida Atlantic was up 14-7 after 1. UCF kind of clawed their way to a 16-14 lead at halftime. But then the second half, they just wore down the Owls. John Rice Plumlee, best game that he's played yet. Passing 25 of 36, 339 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. That pick was really the only mistake he made the entire game. Also 20 carries for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I thought really did a nice job of taking what FAU gave him, not forcing the issue, as it looked like he did at times against both South Carolina State and Louisville. And Drew, I want to get your take on that. But the bottom line is UCF gets a win. And the Knights, what I think is actually really fun to look at right here, is that they are now tied for 6th in the country in total offense at 532 yards a game, and 4th in the country in rushing offense at 273 a game. So, the Gus Malzahn offense, Andrew Glukov, we'll start with you, is beginning to, it feels like it's beginning to take shape, and John Rice Plumlee is settling in very nicely after this game. Now, this is going to be a different test against Georgia Tech, but your observations from the FAU game.
Well, I'm going to make people even more disappointed because it shows how lopsided this is. Defense is ranked, total defense is 19th in the country. So you've got both units really ranked up there, and the fact they have that one in the L columns probably grinds a lot of gears. Looking back at this game, the way it kind of worked out.
Such a sunny outlook. Thank you for that.
Oh, totally.
I really appreciate it.
I'm a ray of sunshine. It's absolute beaming with happiness. But the way this game started actually doesn't surprise me. There was a lot of emotion going in, much like any game that has in-state opponents. There's players that played with each other in high school, friends, and so Florida
familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah, and you had a lot of familiarity. You had a lot of emotion as this game started, and UCF kind of got slapped in the mouth. Florida Atlantic came out firing. They looked really good in that first quarter, and then you had to wonder, how long this is going to last. Then once things settled down, the emotion kind of got smoothed out, and then it became just business. The talent difference started to show up, and you saw that on defense in the second half. This was an absolute demoralizing domination in the second half with 18 total yards of offense for FAU in the second half.
0 in the third quarter.
0 in the third, 18 in the fourth. They got bageled after the first quarter. This was a good old-fashioned beatdown, and UCF could have done more if they really wanted to. They were wondering if we were trying to get another touchdown in there late in the game. We remember what Willie Taggart did in 2016, South Florida against UCF, where instead of letting the clock run, he rammed it into the end zone for another touchdown to run up the score. I'm pretty sure there's people who were actively, myself included, rooting for another score to go on there just to kind of twist the knife a little bit. But
Gus ain't like that.
Yeah, and you look at some of the pieces that contributed. New kicker, Colton Boomer, was able to get in there, has taken over starting kicking duties. Mitch McCarthy taking over starting punting duties. We don't think much about special teams. Special teams do make a difference. Definitely played a very active role in how the Louisville game shaped out. We saw RJ Harvey get in the end zone. Welcome back. Missed last year to a bad injury. And, we didn't get to see in the first two games. Got some time in. Looked really good. I'd like to see more of him and maybe, spell some of the other running backs, so you don't have to overwork any one guy. And John Rice Plumlee had himself a complete game, just an absolute complete game. Threw for a career high 339 yards on 25 of 36 passing, almost 70% completion, just a sliver under. For me, my baseline is 60 for him. If he hits 60%, I feel pretty good, because 20 carries, 121 yards, and a pair of touchdowns. That is the other side. So, he played a complete game. He was able to move the ball around. Baker, O'Keefe, Xavier Townsend, the talented freshman, all had at least 6 catches. Alec Holler was the opportunist and got multiple deep passes, including a 64-yarder. And the offensive line,
he was wide open right down the middle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and on that double flea flicker, the kind of like the reverse one, he was absolutely uncovered. But the offensive line really stepped up. Now you could say part of it is the competition they're playing, but a lot of it is they didn't give up the mental stuff. They had better assignment coverage. They weren't letting the inside guy take over. There was communication. You could see that they were adjusting for blitzes. I think that's a big deal, going into conference play next week. Obviously, we got Georgia Tech this Saturday, but next week you got a big matchup against SMU, which has just been announced as a sellout. So you need this stuff. You need to kind of tweak things a little bit next week as well. I felt really good walking away from this game. The defense was lights out, and I don't expect, I had conversations online with people, just win. No. If you don't cover this Saturday, you should be worried. This game should be an absolute bloodbath.
What's the number, Drew?
I think it was 17.
17 and a half, 18, depending where you're looking at.
Something in that range. If it's not a 3-touchdown game, I would be very concerned going into that conference play.
Look at you setting the bar arbitrarily high.
Love it. Love it. Putting a hot seat, baby.
I want to go to the other offensive lineman in our lineup, Kyle Nash, here to get your takes on this. But the other thing I like to just a couple of numbers I want to put out there. Ryan O'Keefe was back, 6 catches, 74 yards. Would have had a touchdown, except that one somehow ricocheted right off the number 4 in that first quarter. I still don't know how he missed that.
Neither does he.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
It was a weird first quarter.
It was a weird. And here's the other thing too. You got 40 points. Okay, UCF actually turned the ball over in the FAU red zone twice.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was the What was that fumble? Who was? I forget who it was who fumbled the ball. I think was it Bowser? I fumbled the ball in the first possession in the first.
I think it was
quarter?
Richardson.
Or it was Richardson.
Yeah,
That's right.
Richardson.
It was Johnny. And I don't know what you chalked that one up to, but the second one was the fumbled snap when JRP went under center. I think everyone was like, "Why are you going under center?" And I want to give credit to the CBS Sports Network broadcasting, and in particular Danny Cannell, because he pointed this out. Say what you want about Danny Cannell on the radio, but I think he's a really good in-game analyst. And he pointed out that the ball slipped out of Matt Lee's hand.
Right.
It didn't even get to John Rice Plumlee.
Right.
So, people was like, "Oh, JRP, why are you understand?" The ball didn't even get to him. And I think it was part of it was really wet. It wasn't raining, but it was, South Florida is wet and humid and just soupy and that kind of stuff happens, but that's like 14 points. That could have been 54 right there. So obviously you got to clean that one up. But I want to get your take, Kyle, on, like we said, the offensive line. They did the job.
I mean, how much better would this team be if they're not spotting the opponent 14 points every week, to cite the Louisville game as well with penalties? But listen, I didn't need Danny Cannell to tell the world that was on Matt Lee. It's probably one of a few mistakes that I've seen him make in his career. I'm going to let it slide. If it's going to happen, it better be in this game. No, and you mentioned the offensive line, and Lokahi Peul actually mentioned Lokahi Peul. Sorry, I said the O.
Let me try that one again. Lokahi Pauole.
Oh, Pauole?
That's the beauty of having a PA
Lokahi
person on the show
Pauole.
right here. See?
So Lokahi, I talked to him on Monday at the press conference, and he acknowledged that this coming along with the two transfers at the tackle position, kicking Sam inside, has been a process, but it's been moving in the right direction. I can make an argument that playing Louisville in week 3, even compared to week 2, for example, could have done more to give them better production. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that 1 week would have made the difference in that game, but let's say they meet later in the season. Yeah, I know it's not how it works. Something conference play, fine. But at the end of the day, it's a whole situation there where I feel like that line playing a team like Louisville later in the season might go differently, right? And listen, for all the storyline that Drew wants to bring up about emotion, I don't think it was emotion so much started things off as more intellect being the problem, right? You had JJB, Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste missing due to injury, and you have young guys in the game. You have young guys playing out of position, or newer guys that are transfers in playing in a different position than they normally would. And, Coach Malzahn mentioned that bounce back in the second half for the defense is as good as it gets. So I think the defense is, for all that we want to talk about John Rice Plumlee doing Plumlee things, that offensive line taking care of business is really the big thing. And that defense, let me tell you, not getting enough credit for this particular win, in my humble opinion.
Well, and I think you're absolutely right about that, and they should, considering that they took out a very, very good FAU offense coming in, and now they get to lick their chops for Georgia Tech. Drew, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I have to disagree with Kyle. I can't buy.
Surprise!
Hey, you two are disagreeing?
Well,
listen, but first of all, look at how
you guys disagree almost as much as me and Eric.
I can't buy the fact that these are young players. No, these are seniors. Walter Yates is not a new guy as far as being
also
uncomfortable.
Transfers, Drew. Pay attention.
They played
You're
a
still
while.
wrong. They're in a different position, Drew.
No.
It's not about emotion,
blame.
Drew.
You cannot blame
You can't
arm
handle
tackling on the fact that he's a transfer. That's basic technique. That's stuff you teach in middle school.
You're still wrong. He's
It's
in a
game
different
3.
position.
You are
still
one
wrong.
quarter into the season. The fact of, they're still new. You can't use that excuse anymore.
Hey, stop moving the goalpost, and then you'll know what you're talking about. This is ridiculous, man.
No. It's just
Eric, is this what you look like?
If I'm getting that kind of freebie by game 3 of the season, wow. No, you don't. That's not a valid excuse.
And they cleaned it up
maybe
within the same game.
Now maybe Kyle for like if it's a scheme issue, but there were technical issues. Those missed tackles are technical issues. That's not being in the wrong place. That's just being wrong as far as your technique goes. You can't blame that on the fact that you're a transfer. You're new. These guys have played for years. That's basic stuff. I can't buy it. Now,
to Kyle's point, though, that doesn't mean your technique is good. Like, how do you in that particular moment?
Been good, but what again? They've shown good technique. They struggled in the first quarter. They were making a lot of sloppy mistakes in the first quarter.
Yeah,
a lot of yards out
on an opening go game when you're playing in a position you're not normally playing in. And then they shored it up when they got comfortable, Drew. I don't see why this is difficult.
Well, once again, you settle down, you let the emotions get out of the way. And remember, emotions is a two-way street on this one. You have Florida Atlantic and their guys with the emotions. You can only carry that for so long. That runs out of fuel. It's like an alcohol fire. Burns hot, burns short. And then afterwards, it's gotta be business. And then the talent settled in because UCF is a vastly more talented team and took care of business. All the mistakes they were making early on, they weren't making. And it was mental.
Yeah, experience on alcohol fires, Drew. I need more details on that one.
Well,
no, not right now, please.
It's based on your car with 10% alcohol on it. It's not your engine.
Well, listen. As I was mentioning before, this defense now takes on an opponent that they got to be licking their chops for right now. Georgia Tech is a wounded dog. They are 1-2. Their only win was against Western Carolina in Atlanta. This is their first road game of the season. And the only two FBS opponents they've played, they lost to Clemson in the opener 41-10, and they got absolutely boat raced by Ole Miss last week, 42-0. Jeff Collins' seat is, well, there's an alcohol fire underneath his seat right now. There were reports that he could get fired this week.
Right.
As soon as Tuesday. Those reports didn't materialize. So as far as we know, he will be on the side. Of course, former UCF linebacker coach Jeff Collins. As far as we know, he will be on the sideline on Saturday. Is that right, Eric?
Yeah, as of this minute, he will be. Him and Todd Stansberry, the athletic director. Whether they both are still employed after Saturday remains to be seen.
Well, I feel. Well, listen, I don't want to schadenfreude this at all, please, because like we know these dudes, and it's tough. Like they've been through and they know just as well as anybody that it's a results-based business. That doesn't make them any less human, and.
No, it's unfortunate. I mean, this
sucks,
this is not a good year to be a college football coach coaching at your dream job, because apparently you could get fired, because Jeff Collins' dream job.
Or to be a former UCF coach coaching at your dream job.
Or that too. This was Jeff Collins' dream job at Georgia Tech, and it just hasn't materialized. He hasn't won more than 3 games in a season. They just offensively, remember Jeff Sims played against UCF 2020, where we're debating, man, this kid's got a bright future. Yeah, it turns out not really. And, Brent Key's still on the staff. Their offensive line's been a disaster. They've tried to add transfers. That hasn't worked. The special teams, do you realize they've had 3 punt blocks already this year against them? Already?
That's not good.
You know who coaches that? Jeff Collins also is involved in that. That's not good. So
their defense has also been really struggling too, Eric. Like I'm looking at their defense,
which is
113th in the country in total.
They got outgained by Western Carolina. They were outgained by them, and that's not a good program.
No, and there's been a lot of talk this week about scheduling and all that, which is fun. But here's the case: on paper, geography, brand. Oh, this is great. Except Georgia Tech on the field is terrible. Might be, and to Drew's point, I've looked this up. You can make this is probably going to end up being the worst Power 5 team that's ever played at Bright House. You got to go. Boston College in 2011 went 4-8. At least they had Luke Kuechly on the team you could watch. Missouri.
At least they won 4 games.
At least they won 4 games. Jeff, I'll defer to you. If you want to go before Bounce House, the other team was Syracuse in 2002. That weird game.
They weren't this bad.
Right. I don't think they were that bad.
Syracuse team wasn't that bad. They made a bowl game that year.
Did they?
Mistaken. Yeah.
Okay. So, no, this could be the worst team ever, which to Drew's point, the only way this FAU result means anything is if they carry over what they did in the second half over to Georgia Tech. To Drew's point, if they struggle against Georgia Tech, FAU means nothing. It's meaningless. And that's, the question is going to be, does that team show consistency against Georgia Tech and put them away early, dominate like everybody else has done to Georgia Tech, and, perhaps help push the door out, unfortunately, for Jeff and company there. You look at Georgia Tech at UCF, at Pittsburgh the next 2 weeks. They could easily be 1-4. I don't think he coaches after that if he's 1-4. To the point about Jeff Collins' future, unfortunately.
Yeah. Eric, let me piggyback with this as far as the preparation with all that and all this extra pressure we're putting on a group that's should be a rollover. When asked about Jeff Sims by the media, Devad Wilson was on the mic. He said, what do you think about Georgia Tech now that you've seen tape a little bit? It's like, don't really have anything to say. We're more concentrating on ourselves. I think that tells you everything.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really
let's read between the lines on that one. Holy smokes.
That hurts. Wow. I mean, there's bulletin board material, and then there's that, which is a gut punch. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
not even worth talking about.
You could read more of the detail on it on blackandgoldbanneret.com, where I have the preview up there from the presser and see the clip there entirely. But just hearing him say that, I didn't say it out loud, obviously, because I'm in the room, but I was like, damn, so.
Dang.
Well, I mean, there's been talk whether Jeff Sims should get benched. They have a transfer quarterback out of Akron. I forget his name right now, but he's the backup. Some people have been clamoring for him to play.
Yeah,
he's more of a He's more of a drop back quarterback, though, which is not good with their offensive line. So, I mean, they're just a mess. But that, Kyle does bring up a point. Does this team, and it sounds bizarre to say, do you overlook a Power 5 quote-unquote team because you've got a big game the following week against SMU, which, Drew, it's sold out?
He had, Devad should have said, we're just trying to figure out who's starting for SMU next week.
Oh my God!
Back to
oh my God!
Kyle, that was for you.
I will say this: like I don't take pleasure in seeing guys that we knew and did great jobs here at UCF, struggling at this point. But like you said, according to OddsShark, and I want to take a look at this. I want to make sure I get it right. It is the line is up to 20.5.
Woo! Money on UCF, Drew. They listened to you, Drew. Boy, they listened to Drew like 3 minutes ago. There, that's all Drew.
And,
Drew,
that was fast.
And
this show makes
100%. 100% of the money is on UCF right now. I listen. That doesn't listen. The other 85 guys on Georgia Tech, they're on scholarship too. We're going to find out exactly how much pride they have.
Yeah, Georgia Tech it may not be a great football program. It's a great school.
Well, let me ask you this, in all seriousness, Jeff. Because you covered that state.
Yeah.
How much of their struggles has been the fact that Kirby Smart has just cleaned up recruiting-wise at Georgia? Is that a factor? Is this a tough job at Georgia Tech? What's the issue there?
It is a tough job because your brand is more national, obviously. At Georgia Tech, Georgia Tech is kind of like Georgia's version of Duke. You get more of your recruits out of state. You're not going to be a true football powerhouse, and the only really people that really care about you are within Atlanta.
And you're not the lead dog in your market.
Yeah, you're not. They're not the lead. Well, nice pun there, Drew. They're basically they're the Duke of Georgia.
And I'll amaze you this. It's a small factor, but one has to point out within the past, decade or two here, the rise of the Georgia State program. They've made some bowl games of late and have elevated of themselves. That's yet another thing with which they compete.
Yeah, Georgia State, Georgia Southern.
Southern, too. Let's not forget about that program that was a long time 1AA powerhouse, moved up to FBS and is carved a very nice little niche for themselves out in Statesboro.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, but then you have the other Sunbelt programs like Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, who will come as far down as Georgia to recruit because there's plenty of talent to go around there. But eventually you start getting it's nothing compared to Florida, where people from all around the country come to recruit. You start running short, and Georgia Tech was fun to watch in 2020. Of course, they had Jahmyr Gibbs at running back, and now he's over at Alabama tearing it up. And I can see why he bailed because, man, that place is a mess.
Yeah. The problem is, though, you could say they're the Duke of Georgia, but the Georgia Tech people disagree with that. They won a national title in 1990 with Bobby Ross. Had a lot of success.
Right now. How weird is it?
But that was 1990 with Bobby Ross.
But what's bizarre is they had success with Paul Johnson in the triple option, which people are like, how can they run that in Georgia? That's ridiculous. Well, maybe Paul Johnson knew what he was doing. Who knows? Maybe being different. But ironically, George O'Leary, they had a lot of success. George O'Leary, I believe, is doing the coin toss this Saturday. I mean, he has to. This is UCF Georgia Tech. At least that's what I've heard from Birdie's people there. But
you mentioned Duke. It's kind of weird. Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, all 3-0, all basketball schools. Like the twilight.
That'd be a hell of a Final Four.
Well, by the way, to the point to Stansbury, the other problem he's got is the football team's not been good and the basketball team's been mediocre. They've made one NCAA under Josh Pastner. Georgia Tech prides themselves on basketball as well. That hasn't materialized either, so that's why I think they're both kind of in trouble. Plus, Stansbury gave Jeff Collins a 7-year deal. I think the buyout would be $7 million if they get rid of him after this year. So I think there's some people that are like, why did we sign this guy to this lengthy of a deal? Especially since apparently people wanted, the word is right now that the people they want is the guy from Coastal Carolina. Chadwell and Bill O'Brien are the two names that are being popped up a lot at Georgia Tech. Some people are mad because I guess Collins couldn't get Jeff Lebby a few years ago to be the offensive coordinator. So there's a lot of turmoil going on over there.
It's a hard
we don't
program
talk about
sell.
basketball in Georgia. It's still too soon. Okay.
Wow.
You know what? That's true.
It's a hard program to sell. I mean, like Levy's at Ole Miss. So you're gonna Ole Miss, Georgia Tech. Lane Kiffin.
Oh, right now.
Right.
Yeah, right now. I'm talking about right now. Jeff Collins, Lane Kiffin. I mean, who are you going to work for?
What's unfortunate about UCF in this regard, again, on paper, when they signed this deal to play them,
this game is delayed from guess when?
2017.
2017. Yeah.
Right, when Scott Frost didn't want to play in Atlanta and all that stuff. I don't even want to rehash all that.
No. The game was supposed to be here.
Right. No, but
the reason why, Eric, is because he sent all the players home.
That's right, because that's a good way to stay undefeated.
We're gonna lose that.
Georgia Tech was a terrible team in 2017.
Right, but you could have played the game if you moved to Atlanta, and then you could have played the home game in 2020. Although that turns out it was a good thing we didn't, because that's a whole other story. So, but
you would have had like 2 days to plan the game, plan and practice because you have to get all your teammates.
Yeah, but
at that point, it's not worth it. I think UCF and Scott Frost made the right move.
Correct. I'm not saying they did. But the point is, this was supposed to be on paper a big deal home game, and it's not because Georgia Tech is terrible, which proves 2 things: that the way college football schedules is stupid. Like, just do it a year out. Don't do this nonsense 8-10 years. It's ridiculous. And number 2, just because you're playing within a region doesn't mean it's a good game.
Well, 2020 proved that they can schedule fast. We saw it happen within a 72-hour span with BYU and Coastal Carolina, and it turned out to be a good game. And the other thing is, the North Carolina series is no different. That was signed after the 1-loss season with Mitch Trubisky. Right. And then they haven't really done all that much. And Sam Howell kind of busted a bit. He was supposed to be the guy over Dylan Gabriel, and he never turned the corner. It's just the way the system works. And you're right, it's broken.
I don't think regarding Georgia Tech as a program, I don't think it's fair to say that they're never going to get back to where let's not forget this is a program that went to a bowl game every year from 1997 all the way through 2014. Paul Johnson, his last year they went to a bowl game and then he retired. They went 9-4 in 2016. That was the last time that they won more than 7 games, but they did go 11-3 in 2014. Lost the ACC championship, went to the Orange Bowl and won it. And finished 8th in the country. So, I mean, it can be done at Georgia Tech. I think that's something that we have to remember. But like you said, Eric, they're not getting it done this year. And so this presents a real opportunity for UCF to, maybe make some headlines. Hey, look what UCF did to Georgia Tech. assuming that they handle their business.
That's right. Hey, maybe George O'Leary will take over and be the interim coach the rest of the year if things go really bad. Huh? At Georgia Tech. Bring it. Go full circle.
No. They're gonna do what they didn't do at UCF, and Brent Key's gonna be the guy.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, moving on. Let's move it on.
All right. Well,
we made the Scott Frost joke before the Brett Key joke, but here we are.
Yeah. All right. Eric, TV for this game. What do we got?
ESPNU, because Georgia Tech is so bad we can't even be on ESPN2. Kevin Brown and a former Georgia, speaking of Georgia, Hudson Mason, is that
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
The analyst with Kevin Brown for the game on ESPNU. 4:00 kick. That's why it's a 4:00 kick, because it's on ESPNU. Next week, SMU, by the way, Drew mentioned it's a sellout. 3:30 kick. It's either going to be ESPN2 or ESPNU. Depends on how this weekend does, how UCF does, and then the other game, how that does too. So kind of some channeling fighting going on to see if you can get better slots, because there is a difference between ESPN2 and ESPNU, a significant difference.
Yeah. You mentioned, by the way, Kevin Brown. That is not former Florida Marlins pitcher Kevin Brown, I should mention.
Well, this is the voice of the Orioles, Kevin Brown.
That's right. Which, by the way, doesn't really release any confusion at that point. Gus Malzahn, this would be his first win over Georgia Tech if UCF wins. And we are slowly but surely, guys, encroaching upon 200 FBS wins for UCF as a program. The FAU game was number 186. So fingers crossed, next year, first year in the Big 12, could get to 200 FBS wins. Georgia Tech leads the all-time series 3-1, and this is actually the first ever meeting in Orlando. These teams have never met outside of Atlanta. So,
best laid plans.
Well, I mean, hey, nothing you can do about that, right? I mean, you can only control what you can control, and I don't know. I think that this is. My whole MO on this game right now, one foot in front of the other. Keep doing what your offense is supposed to do, all right? And be sharp for the start of conference play. Because as I've said before, and Eric, I know you agree with me on this, control what you can control.
Yeah,
control is what you do in the conference.
Well, yeah, again, it's always the conference. It should always is always your primary goal. If it's not, you're doing it wrong.
Well, and again, you want to see what you build on the second half against FAU to carry over to Georgia Tech.
Unless you're an independent, Drew.
Well, then you're doing it wrong, because there shouldn't be any more independence.
No, Notre Dame with different.
Unless you're Notre Dame.
Yeah, Jack Swarbrick will show you his bank account.
Yeah.
Carry over from the second half over to this game. That's what you need to do and get ready for SMU, which is an explosive offense. I know everybody's crowning this UCF defense as like the '85 Bears, but let me wait and see how they do against a real offense next against SMU.
Yeah, I love that. Elo, and I said this. I think that was with our friend Mark Moses. That
that's right.
What they do, this group against SMU,
if
they can hold up there, they could start making that case of being one of the better defenses in the past.
I agree. That's agree. SMU's got the nation's leading receiver. They can throw the ball. I think Rhett Lashley's one of the best offensive minds.
That's anybody, because we knew who his quarterback was, even though he claimed.
There it is. It all goes full circle. Everybody wondered why did
earlier, Kyle.
There you go.
Just for that nugget.
Although I should say, SMU did lose at Maryland last week.
Yeah, I still don't know what to make of that. That is crazy.
It's not a great. You could say that about everybody in the American right now. Why did you lose to this team?
It doesn't matter if it's college or pros. There's some weird things going on. I mean, look at the Miami-Baltimore game. I mean, that was weird.
That's right, Tua, baby. That's what it's called. It's Tua era.
It wasn't weird if you're Eric Lopez. He loved that.
Yeah,
it's still weird. Doesn't make it any less weird. He just likes the results.
Darn right, I do.
And SMU, by the way, right now, as you were mentioning, Kyle, 12th in the country in total offense, but I think the issue is they're 74th in total defense.
Right.
And credit the crowd. Again, this game's already sold out, the SMU game. So all this now, it proves that you don't have to be, quote unquote, a Power 5 to sell out the place.
No, I know.
Football will sell out.
We've proven that before.
Really, gentlemen, I would be remiss. Eric, you asked the question about looking past a Power 5 team. Here's my response. If in 2018, Kenny Pickett and the Pitt team can sell T-shirts about beating a G5 school, you can look past a P5 school. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
No, you're right.
Today was the 3-year anniversary of that game.
Yeah, thanks for that. Appreciate it.
What
Saw it
can I
on
say
Twitter
except
and had to watch that play over again.
Well,
and watch some of the really
let the record
bad
show you
Chinese
chose
blocks.
to watch it.
Well, we'll see how many more Power 5 teams we get to play. We'll get to play hopefully more down the road, won't we, Jeffrey?
Well, we
Yeah,
have
we should be able to.
Drew, did they show the picture of how proud they were that they sold out that T-shirt? I'm just checking.
No, that came after the game.
Okay.
They had to get the final score printed first.
All right.
All right. Well, again, 4:00 kick, ESPNU for UCF against Georgia Tech at FBC Mortgage Stadium. Game nights are up. We're gonna give it the full Monty again, boys, aren't we? We've got we're gonna have our roundtable coming out tomorrow. We're gonna do we got Know Thy Foe already going, so we'll probably update it. Well, I'll probably update that. We got a few other things going on too, right, Eric? We've got our we were set up for night shift.
Night shift coming off of record-breaking numbers where Kyle and Drew went back and forth. Kyle will be there, Drew won't be. But it'll still be
Eric always touting the numbers. Always
right.
touting the
Should be a fun night shift. I should be back. I might be making a cameo at the football game, but I'm planning on leaving early, so we need to blow this out by the first quarter so I can get out of there.
He's going to leave at halftime with the rest of the students.
Oh!
No, I'm going to beat the students to the rush and get probably before that. But anyway,
Oh, man.
I have a real reason. I got to get ready to host a show.
Let's
I don't know
let's not count our chickens before they've hatched.
Hey, I'd like to point out I did do a night shift once last year from my car.
We
do what you gotta
did it. Eric and I did an entire episode
Yes,
of this
we did.
podcast from
Yeah,
my
that's
car.
nothing new in this
Remember
show.
that with the Cure Bowl?
Yeah, and if Brian Murphy's listening, he's like, "So what? I did multiple years version on the car, and he did a show from a parking lot at the Trop which we were kind of, in retrospect, I don't think we were responsible allowing him to do that. But anyway,
Look, again, that was his choice.
it really was. It was kind of insane looking back on it. Are you okay? I remember we'd ask him, "Are you okay, Murph?" Like, "Yeah, no, we're good. Yeah, I'm good." Running a parking
Somebody
lot,
banging on the door.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be his experiences at Tulsa.
Oh yeah,
Fair.
Yeah, that's
Fair. All right. Well, it's again 4 p.m. kick, UCF Georgia Tech, and then that's it for non-conference play. We dive in full conference play as of when we're recording this, which is early Thursday afternoon, 1:00 Eastern time, Thursday afternoon. The number for this game is UCF by 20.5.
That's a big number. I mean, man,
This could actually be more of a trap game than FAU ever.
it really is. It really is, because UCF's never been this big of a favorite over a Power 5 team. Maybe Pittsburgh 18, maybe, or 17. I don't know. I don't even know if they were that big of a favorite.
They were
Right?
20-point favorites over Pitt.
No
way. No.
Yeah, the game at home was in 18, but I don't think they were favorites by that much.
Woo! 20.
But
That's a big
the
number.
game you were thinking of, Kyle, was the game at Pitt in 19.
Yeah, I got
Right.
the year wrong.
So-
Right, I got the year wrong. But
Either way.
the three elements are there. Heavy favorite, struggling team, more important team the next week. None of this stuff where you pull it out of the sky for FAU, not mentioning any names. But if you don't do it that way, you don't know what a trap game is. I'm just saying.
Oh, God. Come on.
Kicking a man, or our boy Noah Goldberg while he's down.
That doesn't even
Unbelievable.
qualify as a dad joke.
No, that was pure spite.
Yeah, pure spite. Shout out to Noah, who by the way, dropped some great photographs. He full disclosure, he's an FAU alumnus, and was touting all week to us about how watch out for my owls, and for a while it looked like he was right. But second half Knights turned it up, and yeah, I mean, well, let's keep this thing going. Let's keep that train moving in the right direction here. All right. So, UCF Georgia Tech 4 o'clock. When we get back, we got a special guest, the Tay Train, Latavius Murray, joining us here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast to talk about his career at UCF, his lengthy NFL career, which has just resumed this week with the New Orleans Saints. 10 years in the league. Tay comes in fresh off a workout to join us as he's heading up to the Big Easy to rejoin his old teammates with the New Orleans Saints. Later on, Bryson Turner joins us to talk about everything else. But coming up next, Latavius Murray, UCF Hall of Fame inductee as of Friday. Latavius Murray, right here on the Black Gold Banneret Podcast. We're back after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
All right, so here with the Black and Gold Banneret, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game here. Normally you would hear Jeff Sharon or Eric Lopez in this particular role, but nonetheless you have the student of the game here with Bryson Turner, and we are bringing in, I'm excited and honored for this particular guest above a lot of other guys we talked to. This is going to be a very fun time here in UCF history as we induct Latavius Murray into the UCF Hall of Fame. Welcome aboard, Latavius. It's good to have you.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
So listen, obviously we mentioned you being an inductee here to the UCF Hall of Fame. I'll give you the simple question. What's the feeling, man? How much of an honor is this for you?
It's a huge honor, man. Just to think, what was it? 10 plus years ago, that I was going to school, for the first time as an 18-year-old kid that, was just excited to go and play some football at the next level. But to be able to leave, the school and, in a major way to be able to be recognized and be a part of history, just definitely a cool feeling.
And you mentioned being part of history. You came in, you had a significant wins with the football team, the Liberty Bowl. That's such a big part of what's going on there too. I know a lot of people talk about 2013 and that year with Bortles and the Fiesta Bowl and all that, and then you got the Peach Bowl after that. But you being kind of the guy that sets that foundation, what's it like to see the football program evolve and progress as it has on accomplishments that you and your teammates did during your career?
Yeah, that's exactly what we hope for, exactly what we wanted. It's the reason why we went to UCF. I know for me, amongst others, we wanted to go and create tradition. We wanted to, create memories, make history, and we were able to just do that. And I think, the fruits of not just our labor, but even, it took for those who, UCF wasn't anything, right? It took belief from those guys to choose that maybe over some others. So the fruits of our labor amongst those in the past is obviously starting to show, man, and we continuing to put UCF on the map.
Bryson, you got anything for Latavius?
Yes, I do. You're getting inducted alongside Joe Burnett, who I looked this up. You were teammates with him in Burnett in his senior year and your freshman year. I just wanted to know if there's anything about playing with Burnett for that 2008 season that you remember, and what's the feeling to be inducted alongside him?
Yeah, Joe, I mean, he was a, explosive athlete, a hard worker, and really a great leader. And, I'll never forget that. And, I had a lot of respect for him, especially just as a young kid. He was definitely someone that you looked up to on the team as a leader and the way he went about the game, on and off the field. Honestly, he was just a good dude. And, so I'm honored. I'm happy, to just be going inducted with someone that I played with alongside, but just again, somebody of his kind of caliber.
So we obviously, with the news yesterday that you just got signed again with the New Orleans Saints, putting on their practice squad. First of all, how does it feel to be back with them?
It feels good. I felt it's been a long time coming, just, sitting at home, waiting on an opportunity, and just grateful that, they, believed in bringing me back. And I'm just excited to, get to work and just, put the work in and be ready for an opportunity.
You and several of your college teammates, the reason I asked about that is you and several of your college teammates have made it into the NFL, at AJ Boye, Blake Bortles, all of them. What does it feel like to have as many college teammates as you have make it into the NFL with you?
It's just a cool feeling. I think we all remember what the grind was like, together at school. And so, just for us all to, live out the dream and making it to the next level and be successful at the next level, it's just a cool feeling, man. You just appreciate the time we had together, but, you appreciate more what we've all been able to go on and do at the next level. And, you definitely, you cheer harder for those guys because you put that work in and it's like family. So, I enjoy watching, my UCF brothers go out there and do their thing.
You mentioned going out there with your UCF brothers. Now, let's take this more to you a little bit. Is there a particular moment, accomplishment, or any sort of, I'll say memory that you kind of carry with you that you're the most proud of? Like when you're there about to give whatever speech or whatever it is you need to give at the induction, and you're thinking to yourself, this happened, and I know that's a big reason why I'm going to get inducted to the UCF Hall of Fame.
Yeah. It definitely, the Liberty Bowl sticks out, 10 out of 10 every time. And, mainly because, the first bowl game in UCF history, I think the opponent, right, and being Georgia, an SEC school, it was a low scoring game, and I was able to score a winning touchdown that went on to seal the game for us. So that just was a huge moment for school history, which in turn honestly was a big moment, maybe the biggest up to that point for me in my life. So just real cool to be a part of that. That was definitely a great time and one I definitely remember looking back at UCF.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Latavius, because listen, I went back in '98. That would have been Dante Culpepper's time, and they were this close to going to a bowl game, but the final game of the year, the second half, it just didn't go the way it needed to for them to win that game, and then they missed the bowl game. And when you guys went back, all that agony, finally, I'm like, hey, they made it to the bowl game, and then you took care of business with Georgia. Which, listen, nowadays taking care of business with Georgia, that's a tough thing,
Yeah, man.
So with all that, it's great I could definitely see why you would pick that moment. Let me go this direction with you too here, because while I have you such a sage of both now the NFL and college football, I was talking to Bryant Young, who was recently inducted in the NFL Hall of Fame, and I'll pose the question to you the same way I did to him because I think it's relevant. When they talk about longevity in the game, everybody brings up Tom Brady, but he has 5 guys paid to keep him from getting hit. Mm-hmm. You as a running back, you're going to get hit multiple times each play or expect to at least get hit like that. What's the key to keeping longevity the way you have in the NFL, brother?
Yeah, man, just I just got done, hitting the cold and hot tubs, stretching, literally while I was late to the Zoom call. But it's, I think that's the key is just, finding a routine, knowing what works for you, knowing your body, and really just kind of attacking every day just as a fresh start to, reset, get your body right as much as you can, and in that day and go out and attack the day. I think that's I really think that's all you can do, and so I've been able to figure that part out. And for the most part, stay healthy, and it's definitely helped me and kept me around.
Hey, we're more than happy to give you a few minutes to help your routine if it gives you a few more years on your NFL life, bud. It's all right, Bryson.
No doubt. No doubt.
I was looking up some stuff like yesterday about how, because I remember you back when you were on the Raiders, and I was like, oh man, this Latavius Murray guy is going to be great for my fantasy football team. This was before UCF was on my radar at that point in time. But after looking at the UCF players in the pros, noticing that you are right up there in terms of longevity in your NFL career. If you count this season with the Saints, it would be, I believe, your 9th season, which only a handful of NFL players have played 9 seasons or more. So how does it feel, especially as a running back, given how usually short of careers that position gets? Do you feel about being in the NFL for so long, especially as a running back?
Well, Bryson, I gotta let you know this will be 10. So no, I'm messing, but it feels good. Look, like every year for me, it's been a blessing. Every year that I get to throw on a uniform and play at the highest level, in my sport. Honestly, like you look at it and like, what's better than that, right? People dream of this. I know I dreamed of it, and I'm able to live it out. And I'm able to live it out still at the age of 32, playing at the position that I grew up playing and love playing. So I have no complaints, man. I'm just appreciative, and just appreciative for another year, honestly, to go out there and do what I do love to do.
No, hey, we love watching you, man. No, we love to hear it's going. We're looking forward to number 10 being a successful one. And with all the expectations the Saints have to have a pretty solid year, that's got to be exciting as well. But keeping it kind of with the NFL side for a minute, listen, you've been playing football for an extended period of time, right? You've seen the way that the game has changed, not only at the college level, but then during your time in the NFL. So as somebody who kind of, the student of the game isn't just a clever moniker for me, Latavius. I like to pay attention and see what trends and stuff are setting. So what would you say has been the key for you to stay flexible as offenses, and how that has changed throughout your career? Like, just as an example, quarterbacks used to all look like Blake Bortles. Now the way that they look is completely different when you look at some of the top guys, right? You have Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, guys that are a lot more mobile, don't just stand in the pocket and, protect it. They go and they're a lot more dynamic. How does that change what you do on the field as a running back?
Yeah, I think, I just think with every season, you just, create more wisdom, knowledge for the game. And so, I've been able to, take what I've learned, heck, in college. And then once you get here, you collect those years up, man, and you got a natural feel for the game. You got a knowledge for the game. You got a wisdom of the game that kind of will never leave you. And so when you're able to take in these different offenses and maybe apply what you learned from all the others, it's just so much football you've seen, so much football you've been a part of. And I think that's helped me kind of wherever I'm at, to be able to pick it up fast and go out there and play fast. And end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? How quick can you learn? How fast can you go out there and play and apply it to the field?
Yeah, no, that's definitely an underappreciated concept, the intangible part. Like, it's not just, here's a playbook. This isn't the Matrix. You don't just plug something in and it's just there. You got to actually work through and hit the books at night and stuff to get caught up. I'm with you there. Bryson, what do you got?
You mentioned learning, Latavius, and I would not be surprised of how much you might have been able to learn off the field as well, because you basically played in every corner of the country, from the West Coast in Oakland to the very north in Minneapolis, to the south in New Orleans and UCF, to the Northeast with Baltimore. So what's it been like to be able to kind of, live in so many places across the country over the course of your football career?
Yeah, it's been fun. I think it's been really, it's been cool. Honestly, if I look at it, I just had the opportunity to experience, different regions, different cultures, different fan bases. And I think, just the more you experience, the more you're, more thrown at you, just allows you to be able to connect more. I think honestly. So I've had, the opportunities to play, kind of all over. And I think that's just been a benefit to, open my eyes and, allow me to really appreciate what this game has kind of done for me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm knocked back a little bit by that because Bryson has a very interesting question that you have very unique experiences from that. See, this is why I'm paying attention, and when you talk, Latavius, I'm taking notes here and learning things. But speaking of learning things, you have a number of coaches and influences throughout your career. Obviously, I mean, John Harbaugh, Sean Payton, among your time at UCF with George O'Leary, who are some of the coaches, some of the players, some of the people that helped influence, kind of the person and football entity you are today?
Yeah. I think I've learned and took from all. I think even with Pop Warner in high school, man, I was able to. I think we enjoyed the game a lot, right? It was so fun. I don't ever look back at a time of just like, man, I did not enjoy that. Like high school was a lot of fun. So I'm thankful for that. That allowed me to want to even continue to play at the next level. College, right? It was ramped up and it got real serious, right? You had to take weight training serious. You had to take film. You had to take, the game a lot more serious, right? It wasn't just strictly fun, at least not until game day. So the knowledge of my game, I think, really began there. In the X's and O's of that in college, and then once you get to the league, you appreciate, the great minds of the game. Coaches like you say, Sean Payton, Harbaugh, all of them. The players, great minds like Drew Brees at the position, but then great athletes like Lamar Jackson and Alvin Kamara. So just again, man, just I've been able to take all my experiences in the past, and it's really made me who I am, and it's really made me just appreciate where I've come from, and allow me to really enjoy where I'm at today.
Okay, Bryce, did you have anything else?
I do. So what was it like to get that call from UCF about the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame? Because I remember reading somewhere about how a local Hall of Fame up in your native New York, I believe, notified you for induction, and now you're getting inducted at your college. So what's it feel like to be to when you got that call?
Yeah, it felt good, man. Just like again, that's when you're a young kid going to school, and you're just trying to figure it out. You're just trying to find your way, and you hope that, man, when I go into the situation, I make the most of it, and I do my best. And then you fast forward years later, and you were a part of history, right? You did well enough that the school's going to recognize you as one of the best to play at that university. And so it's just a humbling feeling, one that you just never expect going into, but one that you just walk away with more appreciation because of that. And so I'm just really grateful that I was able to leave an impact.
So obviously, with the news that you have returned to New Orleans just recently, I believe yesterday, if I remember yesterday, when we record this, because with the Hall of Fame induction coming up, I know I checked the NFL schedule. You guys are going to be on the road against Carolina on Sunday, with the induction being the Friday before that. So I just wanted to ask what your plans are in terms of that.
Yeah, my plans are to still make it. My plans are to still be there in attendance. We got Friday. Prior to that, we don't leave out until Saturday for Carolina. So I should be in attendance for that.
Awesome. I mean, look, we are absolutely happy for you that you're still with an NFL team, which is well deserved given the work that you put in. But obviously, with the news that you were inducted, I just wanted them to check in on that. Really appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah, man. So with that in mind, before we take off, if there's anything else you want to shout out or let people know that you're working on, or anything else on that over and above maintaining a lengthy NFL career.
Yeah. Well, look, there's this new sports nutrition company that I started working with about 2 years ago. It's called Endorphin, and that's www.enduraphin.com, endorphin.com. It's a real innovative product, and yeah, just check it out. I think you guys find it real interesting.
Awesome. And before we go, Bryson's got one more question for you.
Yeah. So, Latavius, is there anything that you personally would like to say to Knight Nation ahead of your induction?
Yeah, just thankful for all the support from day one. You know, the time at UCF was like no other. I honestly say it's the best. It's the best school in the world. I had the best time of my life, and just appreciate all the support and love. You know, since day one of getting there and since leaving, honestly, still to this day, the support has been, you know, unreal, and I'm just thankful, and I appreciate everybody.
Yeah, and listen, you definitely deserve the love thrown your way because you are a huge part of the program getting to where it is now, pending. Well, if there is still a Power 5 with all the movement in college football, whatever is going on there, UCF is going to be a big part of it. I hate to sound so uncertain with it, but listen, man, you've seen the news. You got the Big Ten and the Pac-12 playing together now. What is this?
It's a lot of movement, man. But we'll be at the top of all of it real soon.
There you go. Latavius Murray talking with us here at the Black and Gold Banneret. Appreciate your time. I had a lot of fun. And hey, listen, don't worry about it. A few minutes for a few years on the NFL career, we're good with it, bud. It's all good.
I appreciate it, man.
That was UCF Hall of Fame inductee running back Latavius Murray. And listen, that's actually the first time I met him. Some of the guys here on the panel right now, of course, this being Kyle Nash, the student of the game coming in. I have to tell you, I heard good things about Latavius Murray and how humble a dude he was, but confirmed in that discussion and over above his accolades. Listen, cool guy to talk to. I had fun with it.
I love that dude. I and his pathway, you know, I just a great redemption story. And then I can recall watching that game, and you guys remember that game in Oakland? I forget who they were playing, where he ripped off the 90-yard run. And I'm like, Tay has arrived, man. And it's like, since that, no, it's great to see like that moment for a guy when they burst onto the scene and everyone finds out what we've already known, right? And it's just a well-deserved honor for a guy who is a real workhorse. And you know, I've told I remember telling Joe Burnett about this, and we talked about it. Like, the thing about Latavius that I think everyone forgets is like, Latavius is a big dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big dude. He's 6'3". Like, good luck tackling that.
I don't want that job, and I'm 6'5".
Nope.
So
yeah, I'm no thanks. No thanks. Appreciate that. No, I'm so happy for him. He deserves it. Central New York kid, you know, almost went to Syracuse.
I wondered if that was coming.
I initially transferred. I think, if I'm not mistaken, right, he committed and then decided to come back. So
at the end of the day, the UCF community better for it. And like, I love the part where we ask him, you know, yeah, you weren't part of the air quotes big games in 13 and 17, but still just very honored to help build the bridge for those and to where we are observing UCF as Big 12 members here upcoming. So just again, a testament to the guy being just a genuinely cool guy. I don't know if we picked it up in the interview. He actually apologized a couple times because there was a little bit of a miscommunication, and he was humble to us, being like, "Oh, hey, I'm sorry, I forgot about this." Like, man, you're the guest. It's all good, you know. In the name of keeping a 10-year NFL career going, it's okay if you needed a few more minutes to work out, bro. It's fine.
Yeah, like, we're not gonna. Yeah, I mean, you got a league to go play for. You know, it's totally fine. Anyway, congrats to Tay. Best of luck as he embarks on yet another season. Hope we get to see some more of him. Obviously, you know, a lot of UCF fans out there have him on their fantasy team. I'm sure he'd make a great midseason pickup. Eric
Active
Lopez.
Active
roster.
Roster,
Right.
Look, in all seriousness, no, forget Kyle, they need him. I mean, the Saints, Kamara's been banged up. Mark Ingram has kind of struggled. I think there's opportunities for him there. That's why the Saints got him. We'll see how that plays out. But he could play a role for them.
No, I know, no doubt too. And listen, I've mentioned on the Student of the Game podcast that the Saints need offensive help. They're a defensive team right now. Something I didn't think I would see in this decade, but here we are.
Hey,
plus the dude always looks good in black and gold. I'm just not gonna.
There you go.
I mean,
hey, but it's true. By the way, congrats to him, Joe Burnett, Linda Gooch, Mackenzie Otis, the softball ace player, and Christina Sarf, the first rower to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. We interviewed all of them. That's on the Black and Gold Banneret YouTube channel right now. We also have the articles on the blackandgoldbanneret.com as part of our Hall of Fame week. So congrats to all of them. There'll be a ceremony on Friday night. I will be there to cover that, and then they will be honored at the football game at the end of the first quarter, except Latavius, because, he has business to take care of.
He's a little busy. He's indisposed at the moment. All right, congrats, Latavius, and thanks again for joining us on the podcast. Best of luck in New Orleans. All right, when we get back, Bryson Turner is going to join us, catch us up on a busy week of UCF sports. We got golf, we got soccer, we got volleyball. We got
two ranked teams.
We got two ranked teams, and we got some basketball schedules to talk about as well.
Kyle, don't pull your hair out right now, please.
I know. Just keep it all there. All right? We'll get to it. Stick around. We'll be right back. We are back here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez with you, joined by Bryson Turner to talk about what we have going on around the world of sports. I want to start off, Eric Lopez and Bryson Turner, with the basketball conference schedules being released. We had the non-conference schedules released earlier, but the non-conference schedules are out for our last ride in the American. So the schedules are out in full. If you go to UCFKnights.com, you can kind of plan how everyone's going to, how you're going to go. Lord knows we're planning ourselves, right? But a couple observations on the conference schedule. Remember, it's not a true, balanced schedule, right? So the men, play 2 games each against Wichita, Houston, ECU, Memphis, Temple, Tulsa, Cincy, and South Florida. And they play a single game at home against SMU January 8th and a single road game in New Orleans against Tulane. The women, on the other hand, their full schedule is out now. They will host Tulsa January 7th for their conference home opener. Let's see, Eric, do we see who their single opponents are? I'm running. I
believe Houston's one of them. Houston's
one of them. Okay, so. And then we'll go through the rest of it in a little bit. But I want to talk about the men's schedule first. What do you think about how that worked out? I know it's only 2 games out of the entire conference slate, but did they catch a break there?
Well, I mean, I don't know about catching a break in this league. I mean, there's always
catching a break would be like playing Houston once.
Yeah, I mean, there's positives and negatives always to the league. I mean, first of all, you're starting off hosting Wichita, then you go to Houston at ECU, then host SMU. That's not easy. I mean, there's a stretch here I'm looking at in February where they're at Cincinnati, then they go to Wichita, come back, host Tulsa, then go back to Memphis. So it's hard to say. I mean, it's hard because we don't know. Some of these teams may surprise, may not. There's a stretch. So, it is what it is. It's the final schedule of the American. I think that's the big news there. Then non-conference wise, now that we have the full schedule, the big stories, obviously, you go to Bahamas, you've got Oklahoma State, so you're going to get a sample of the Big 12. You're either going to play DePaul or Santa Clara. You're hosting Miami and FSU. Obviously, FSU, a couple notes, FSU is the night before the football game at Tulane. So that's probably going to hurt attendance a little bit because I have a feeling many UCF fans will make that road trip. And then Thanksgiving week, I hope everybody does not spend any time with their families because UCF's going to have a busy slate of sporting events going on that week. Capped off by UCF Miami at 5 on Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I mean, Thanksgiving weekend's always busy, right? I like the Obviously, the Mizzou game on Saturday, December 17th, down at FLA Live Arena in Sunrise. Is that what it's called now? FLA Live Arena? All right.
Yeah, it's called really names.
I know. It's never had like a non-corporate name. Home for Stetson, and then you start Wichita. And conference play starts actually the weekend before New Year's. Usually we wait until after New Year's Day for the conference play to start, but they started a little early this time around. That is a rough slate to start out. Home Wichita, at Houston, at ECU.
Well, especially the Wichita game. What's significant about that, there's probably not going to be a big student turnout because of the holidays. And again, that's right around bowl time, so you don't know where football is going to be playing. So that hurts the best. So I actually would rather, if you're going to start in December, I'd rather be on the road in December for conference than at home, because you're not going to have the full home court advantage.
Senior Day is going to be March 5th. That's a Sunday against ECU. South Florida comes to town Wednesday, February 22nd. Cincy comes in the game before that, the 19th. We go to Tampa January 21st. So that's a Saturday noon game too. So you can check that out at UCFKnights.com. Also, the women's schedule is fully out. 3 of their first 4 at home, and they're starting pretty. I think this is a good move, personally. Starting pretty light in terms of opponents, given how you have a lot of new faces on this roster. So they're home Winthrop, home Mercer, at Campbell, home Louisiana Monroe. They got a Thanksgiving tournament where they host Samford and Southeast Missouri State. They're home for Sam Houston. Then they go, started December, at Auburn, home Seton Hall, at Tennessee, before they finish home.
You got to do PA for Seton Hall. You got to do PA.
I would love to do PA for Seton Hall.
Let's go.
And then home for Texas Southern before conference play starts. So I think Coach Messer was very deliberate in how she arranged the schedule to try and get her roster up to speed in that what the coaches call the preseason, leading into conference play, because there's going to be a lot of kinks that are going to have to get worked out, right?
Yeah, that's an understatement. I think you're going to schedule nicely there. You do have a trip to Tennessee. That's going to be a return trip from last year. You do go to, I believe, Auburn they go to.
Yep.
So they do have a couple SEC
road games.
Other interesting thing, by the way, make a note of this. Some double headers with UCF men's and women's basketball. Opening night, for example, is a double header with the women playing at 6, and then the men's going to follow after that game. So we're probably looking at an 8:30 tip for the men's opener against Asheville. There's also double headers on the 27th of November. There's a few other double headers. So I don't know if that was coincidental, on purpose. Either way, just that will affect your scheduling a little bit. I know Kyle is pulling his hair. That's why he's not in this segment. Just the thought of it, he's already pulling his hair. It was entertaining watching him trying to figure out what games he's covering, what he's not, from that standpoint. And then conference-wise, you start at SMU. You go to Houston. Houston doesn't come here. The tradition, unlike any other, UCF goes to USF on a Sunday, January 22nd. I want to say that's playoff Sunday, divisional round, maybe?
That might be championship Sunday, I think.
You'll have to double check that. Either way, it's ESPNU game there, so they get some the ESPNU treatment there. And of course, you finish your last regular season conference game is at Tulsa. Which, it's going to be, that's interesting, because do you just go straight from Tulsa to Fort Worth for the conference tournament? Or do you come back all the way to Orlando, then go all the way to Dallas? I mean, who knows? But that's something they'll decide, I guess.
I think they're probably, if I'm looking at it, usually they started the women's tournament. I'll double check when they started the women's tournament. By the way,
Florida comes here.
That is
divisional
divisional weekend. So, But again, the Americans basketball championships, and I wanted to pull this up real quick while we had the
South Florida comes here, by the way, February 15th, as far as the women is concerned. We'll see if that is the final time these two programs play or not. We'll see.
Okay, women's basketball tournament in Fort Worth, March 6th through the 9th. So I'm guessing that if they're at Tulsa March 1st, they're going to come home.
Yeah, they got time. Yeah, they can.
Yeah, and then remember, the championship game is the same day. The women's championship is the same day as the men's first round, just like it was last year. Remember? So I like that. I kind of like having like that sort of like basketball convention feel to it. I also like the double headers because there's always going to be fans who show up, late for the women's game in advance of the men's game. But I like that because the crowd builds. Obviously, I'd like everybody there for the
So do you think
games
that's
in their entirety? But it does help down the stretch if it's a close game.
So do you think that's part of the strategy with some of the doubleheaders UCF's got this year with men's and women's basketball? Is that part of the strategy?
Strategy? I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, okay. I'm kind of old school like that. I like that. We haven't for a long time. We didn't really do that. Like I think when we were in the A-Sun, we didn't.
Right.
Do that.
Yeah. Very rarely has been done. This year, it's pretty frequent.
Yeah.
Which like
usually
I said,
we had
yeah.
At CUSA, I think too. We would do like the women's games would be on like Friday and Sunday, and the men's games would be Thursday and Saturday. But I like I said, I'm old school. I like the doubleheader thing because.
Does that mean you're doing doubleheaders too? Like, how does that work? Because you're opening night.
Not necessarily.
All right.
Tommy does women's. I do.
Men's. Alexander, a boy there.
Yep. But I'll. If he can't make it, I can fill in. So, and I've done that.
Are you like standby as soon as he's out? You kick him out. You just say, "Hey, get out of
here." No. I stay until Tommy's done, and then I go in because that's Tommy's show. He's
all right. We'll find out. Opening night, 8:30 doubleheader among a few. I think it's 3 or 4 doubleheaders this year with UCF men's and women's basketball. I will be curious to see how that goes from a crowd flow standpoint.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Let's talk about volleyball. Boy, what a weekend they had. Going out to Kansas, winning 3, beating number 23 Kansas, sweeping them. Sweeping Kansas. Holy smokes. And I thought they'd be out of gas because they went 5 with Omaha the night before. And now they're sitting at number 25 in the AVCA coaches poll. But the big story of the weekend, McKenna Melville, number 1 all-time at UCF in kills. She finally broke the record. She did it on Sunday against Lipscomb in Lawrence. I'll admit, kind of anticlimactic because there was nobody in that gym. But to witness
no
history,
television either. Yeah.
And it wasn't streamed live, unfortunately. Listen, props to Kansas's sports information staff. They had cameras ready for us to capture that moment. But McKenna is now number 1 all time in kills. They actually gave some time, Kansas gave her the game ball. They had a little ceremony afterwards congratulating her, which was cool. We'll see them back here at home, not this weekend, but next weekend, because they're starting conference play this weekend, which we'll get to in a second. But number 25 in the polls. Remember, Eric, in 18, when they had that long win streak, that was the last time they were ranked, and it took them a while to get into the polls. Now they're in it this early. And I know you're going to say polls don't matter in volleyball. I get it.
Don't ask me. Don't tell me.
Agree.
Tell Todd that. He went off.
Listen.
Check out our Black and Gold Banneret YouTube channel. He went off on.
I know.
On that.
I know. But you know something? It's still a cool achievement.
I agree with you, actually. I'm for it. I mean, especially with this program, to get some, get used to being in the top 25, because this will pay off long term when you get to the Big 12.
Right.
And start getting more recognition that way. So yeah, look, I think it's always good to be in top 25. I think they got a good chance to stick around in the top 25 for the most of the year, if not the whole year. But obviously, you mentioned the story, McKenna, obviously breaking Renata Menchikova's all-time career kills record. I don't think anybody's going to touch this record for a while, if ever. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty significant. You're right. The unfortunate thing is, and you've brought this up in the past with volleyball, is there's so many points that go on, and players are just focused on each point that. It's not like baseball or softball. When somebody hits a milestone, they take a moment and stop, give them the ball, celebrate, acknowledge it on the crowd. In volleyball, you don't do that. I mean, we saw this opening night against Syracuse when she hit the 2,000 mark. I don't think what was it? It was acknowledged till the next time out or something like that?
Right, and she got 2 kills. Now, I'll admit there's kind of 2 things to that. Now, we've acknowledged some milestones in the past right after they happened. I remember when Jayla Hervey got her 1,000th kill, she went right back to serve, and we immediately said something, right? And so, but we didn't stop the match to do any sort of ceremony, right? We just mentioned it. And then after the match, they presented her with the game ball. This one, they didn't stop. They just kind of kept playing. And part of that is actually by McKenna's request, which which we will always honor, because she's such a team player. I mean, she really is. I know that sounds like a cliche. She's like, the first thing I remember talking to her preseason, I was like, what do you think about all this crazy stuff that you're about to do? And she's like, all it means is I got good teammates. That's all it means. And, they set me up, and she's saying the right things, right? So,
right, but like, I mean, this is not just
she's like, I do not want to make a big deal about this.
Well, too bad.
Like,
we are.
I know. That's what I told her. That's exactly what I told her in the preseason. I was like, look, we're going to make a big deal about it.
Well, it's not every day this happens. This may never happen again. The last time we had somebody 2,000 kills was 25 years ago, back in an era where it was a lot easier to get kills. Now it's not. So she should get celebrated for this. I don't know if they're going to do that when she'd come back home. It's unfortunate it didn't happen at home, but it's still pretty cool to have this achievement for her, part of and you mentioned the 2018 ranking. I have a feeling this won't be the last time this team gets compared to 2018, because I think as this season plays out, there's going to be a lot of comparisons to 2018 as far as who's the better team, plus, hosting possibilities.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the one thing that I want to make sure that we do is to get farther in the postseason than 2018. That remains getting healthy, staying healthy, and getting that, and like you said, handling your business. Bryson,
they've certainly
gotten off. I was going to say we go to Friday and Sunday with at Memphis and at SMU to start conference play. So this should be something that they take care of rather easily at this point, no?
I would say so. I mean, the American, I think, is a little bit of a better conference than it was last season, I would say, but I wouldn't be shocked. But I'm not saying better by a little bit, not by a lot. I think it's still a one big league with UCF.
No, I think it could be two. Houston has a chance if they finish strong in the league.
Yeah.
The thing that's
Memphis
hurting
is off to a good start though too. They're 10-3. Houston's 10-2. SMU's 7-5, which is good
SMU's the key match here. So on the unofficial RPI, SMU's in the 60s, which is the third best, which is not good for a league. The thing, to your credit, Jeff, the disappointing part has been Cincinnati. They're off to a horrible start.
2-8, they're last.
Yeah, they're the opposite of UCF. They can't buy a 5-set win at all. So the league is down because of that, which kind of makes the room for error a little less. And, now UCF's got to go on the road at Memphis, which has a new they're playing with new players, all that. And then SMU, to me, that's their Super Bowl. SMU, I think, has to win that game to have a shot at all at making it as an at-large for the NCAA. So I expect SMU actually to be a tricky match there.
Because remember, there's no postseason tournament. Last word, Bryson, real quick.
UCF has already gotten off to a really big start so far. They're one of 6 undefeated volleyball teams remaining so far in the NCAA. They lead the country in hitting percentage. And I looked this up for my nightcap article that's currently on the Black Gold Banneret.com. But McKenna Melville's all career kills mark, she is 465 kills ahead of second place. And that girl played in 3 more sets in her career than she did. And she's to put in perspective how big this accomplishment from McKenna Melville is, or as the UCF volleyball team has coined her, McKenna Mel Kill.
Yeah, I saw that on the social media. That's I wanted to. Oh, by the way, did you guys see Kansas and Texas last night? Texas is number 1 in the
Wednesday
country.
night for those listening.
Or Wednesday night. Kansas, number 1 in the country, was down 2 sets to was up 2 sets on. No, Texas is number 1 in the country. Down 2 sets to Kansas, came back and won 15-9 in the 5th. Now the RPI does factor in how many sets it takes you to beat or lose to someone. But Kansas really could have helped us out with a dub.
Big time. I mean, Kansas right now, unofficial RPI is 24. If they beat Texas, they skyrocket into the teens, which was huge for UCF.
Which would have rocketed UCF up into
right. Which is why, I mean, we'll get into this more in the weeks to come as far as the RPI and some of the question marks there. The bigger thing, though, long term, Big 12 volleyball, Wednesday nights. Get used to that. Because starting next year, when UCF's in the Big 12, Wednesdays and Fridays are mostly the schedule for Big 12 conference games. Drastically different than the American, which I personally like, Jeff, because my philosophy is if you could avoid football as much as possible, do it. And what a coincidence. they're now, all these volleyball coaches are complaining about, we don't have enough coverage. Oh. Well, guess what? It's amazing what happens when you don't play on a football Saturday or Sunday. You get TV time. Hey, what a concept. And I think ESPN will push more volleyball as long as you play them in the midweeks. And I think the Big 12 will be a big benefit of that next year and this year.
Yeah, no, that'll be big. I do like that, although may have a very real effect on when we can record our podcasts.
Hey, man, earlier in the week is fine.
Maybe Thursday and early in the
week.
Or
a recap, right? We could be the post-game show. We could be the unofficial post-game show of volleyball.
Could. Or Thursday mornings. I don't know. We'll figure that out. All right. Let's talk a little soccer. And I want to start with the men. In this case, we have a team that right now is at 4-1. They beat Temple 4-0 to start conference play. And now they head out to Memphis Saturday, 8 p.m. before they come home for FAU. Remember, FAU is a conference game now this year because FAU is in the American. But a good start, exactly what you want to do to start out, right, Bryson? You start conference play, even though you're on the road, you go up there, beat the tar out of Temple, and now you're off and running. It feels like Luca Dorado, who kind of had some injury issues a little bit, it kind of got off to a slow start. He's in fifth gear right now.
Yeah, you couldn't really have said it better. Dorado is now 1 goal off from getting into the top 10 all time in goal scorers in a career. He's at 22 goals. He's got to get one more. And he went off today getting a pair of them against Temple. Robbie Sornellis got his first goal of the night. Congratulations to him. Temple, let's face it, isn't exactly very good at men's soccer, but the fact that they routed them the way that they did, it's taking care of business in a big way. What I think is very interesting, though, is how conference play began throughout the rest of the American Conference, because Charlotte is currently undefeated at 7-0 right now. They just started conference play with a win. FIU went and beat Tulsa to start conference play.
That's big.
Yes.
That's big. Remember, FIU, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, FIU won the one Conference USA last year, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, this is big.
The regular season.
Well, here's the big thing about the American and UCF. We talked about the questions about the volleyball in the conference. That is not a question in the American and men's soccer this year. You realize right now, and it's unofficial because it's not public, but there's websites that cover this on a daily basis. Right now, the American Conference is the number 2 strongest conference in men's college soccer right now, behind the ACC. Wow. And here, Charlotte, which Bryson mentioned, they're unofficial 21 RPI. Memphis, 18 RPI. FIU, 34. Tulsa, 4. SMU, 9. That is remarkable. The most bids this league has ever gotten in men's soccer is 3. They've got a chance to match that and maybe even surpass that. So if you're UCF,
that's murder, man. Holy smokes.
It's rough, but if you do well in league, you set yourself up very well, because the non-conference for UCF outside of Wake Forest hasn't panned out like they would like. Their schedule strength's not going to be strong. Some of the teams they've scheduled haven't turned out to have a good start to the season. However, because the league in the American is so strong and the additions of Charlotte and FIU in particular have helped, they're going to make their resume based on how they do in conference. And that's a good thing. So hey, take a bow, Mike Oresco. You got the second best men's soccer league this year.
Real quick, Bryson, before we get back to you to wrap this one up. Like you said, Charlotte 7-0. UCF at 4-1. This is overall records. Memphis 4-1-1. FIU 4-2. Tulsa 4-1-1. SMU 4-2-1. That's 6 clubs right there. And then there's a big drop off. South Florida, FAU, Temple, UAB. All of them are below 500, and none of them have won more than 2 games. But as far as the top 6, that's why. It's like this. That's legit. Go ahead, Bryson.
So the other big thing is that this men's soccer team, even though I would say that overall their schedule for the beginning of the season was a little on the weak side, their performance against Wake Forest, who I believe is ranked number 1 right now.
They're ranked number 1. Yeah.
Yep.
Their performance against them has helped them get into the top 25 at the number 23 spot right now. And now coming up, they have this gauntlet of an American schedule. I'm looking at October is going to be a murderer's row for them.
Yeah.
SMU at home at FIU. You get a break probably with at UAB, but then you come back home to host Charlotte, and then you go out to play Tulsa to end the month.
That's 5 brutal games.
Yeah, we're gonna know if this team's an NCAA tournament team or not after that month. That's stretch right there. Yeah.
Well, they only have one regular season game after.
But
that,
hey, right
in South Florida.
But that's the cool thing is the advantage of playing in a strong league is you can play yourself in or play yourself out. Right. And by the way, cool that they're ranked 23rd. They get their respect quickly there. So good for them to be back in the top 25.
Women's soccer right now stands at 2-2-4. They're on a 4-game winless streak right now after they beat Florida Gulf Coast and they had the North Florida game canceled. The 2 games that they lost, Ole Miss and North Carolina, but they tied their last 2 at Memphis, scoreless tie, and then at Texas, a 2-2 tie. We haven't seen Kristen Scott since I believe the Utah Valley game, Eric, is that right?
Well, she was warming up for Ole Miss when we saw her, and she went down. So that's the last time we literally have seen her.
So that's so winless in 4 games without her. And I went back and looked at the numbers, and UCF since COVID averages or came into the Texas game averaging 1.8 goals per game with Kristen Scott, but 0.8 goals per game without her in that stretch. As we get to the point where they're now heading into their last 7 games, all of them in conference, and they're home for Cincinnati a week from or next week, Thursday the 29th. They have 11 days off after that Texas game in Austin. They got to find something here, either get her healthy or find something. But I think they did find something in that Texas game with Deanna Martin, who's been knocking on the door all season, but she's breaking through right now, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. I think she's been great off the bench. She's kind of like that 6-man version in basketball, like a Manu Ginobili type that just brings energy and explosiveness off the bench and some scoring opportunities, and that's what she's done. Obviously, you look at the last 2 matches, the Texas match, which I got to watch on the Longhorn Network because for some reason I have Longhorn Network. Hey, I'm not complaining. I enjoyed it. It was a fun match. It was a really well-played match. That's the one that's going to sting, though. UCF had the lead. They gave up a goal at the end of the first half with about 3 minutes to go and gave up a goal with 4 minutes to go up 2-1. Otherwise, they would have gotten a big win on the road at Texas. That's what this team is missing right now is a marquee win. They have marquee draws.
Yeah.
But I don't, but
4 of them.
and you brought up the Kristen Scott factor. That is significant because, the committee sometimes does look into that, like, hey, how do they fare with this player versus without this player? So we'll see if that could play a factor down the road if UCF is in the bubble. In the official RPI that came out this week, they're 49 in the RPI, which is right on the bubble. You cannot get more on the line. So you're right. They got to get wins, and they got to start with Cincinnati next week. We'll get more into that next week. That's the team that you could argue really took them out of the NCAA tournament running last year when they knocked them out at the end of the regular season, upset them at Cincinnati. So can they get Kristen Scott back after this lengthy period is critical because they are a different team when she's playing because she's a goal threat they don't have. I'm not saying other players can't pick up the slack and score, but Kristen Scott is a gifted goal scorer, which you can't teach.
Yeah. Mallory Olsen has been picking up the slack, as has Deanna, like you said, off the bench. But, again, it's, Kristen is the Gretzky of this team right now. And I agree with you. Boy, it would have been a real confidence booster to come out of Austin with a W. Without her, I think that would have been a real confidence
That's one
booster.
That's going to sting. Depending on how,
yeah,
because that was a well played. And they had a chance to knock it out. Like Donna Martin hit a post that would have put them up 3-1 in the second half. So
yeah,
that's one that's like, you wish you would have had that. The Memphis draw is actually a good result because Memphis is probably the team them and SMU you're going to have to deal with in league play for the conference title. So a draw on the road there is not too bad. The Texas one you're going to wish you had back. They probably wish they had the first 20-25 minutes of the Ole Miss match too. That's how close this, because that's you swing those two matches, we're having a completely different conversation as far as their postseason outlook right now.
Right. Well, here's the slate. So September 29th, Thursday, 6 p.m. That's next week against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's 4-1-3. They've had a bunch of draws too. They're at Temple. Temple is struggling, 0-3-4, haven't won anything yet. Then they're back home for SMU October 9th. That's that following Sunday. So the schedule is getting really spread out, and I think that helps them a little bit. SMU at 5-1-3, so you have some time after.
That's
Cincinnati.
a big one. That's a big one.
That's a big one right there.
But
and then they go to Tulsa 6-3-1. So
yeah. The thing is, though, this team, they know this, and Coach Sahadek told us this, Jeff, at the beginning of the season. What they cost them last year, the NCAA tournament bid, was losing some matches in conference they shouldn't have lost. I brought up Cincinnati, for example. That's what kept them out. They know that. Did they learn their lesson from last year? We're going to find out starting next week.
Yeah. Last little bit we want to get to here. How about women's golf? And Bryson, you were following this very intently. You've become our SVP, like early career SVP on UCF Golf. The women's program breaks a program record at the Mercedes-Benz Intercollegiate, and Pat Pidden wins the individual title. Records being smashed all over the place in Knoxville, Tennessee for UCF women's golf.
This was honestly a historic performance for this program. And when I did my little Twitter thread after I can't remember which round. I think it was after the first round. I ended up getting a quote tweet from one of the executive associate ADs at UCF that said that this women's golf team was a special group, and I think this tournament really proves that there may be some truth to that. Most of the team finished in the top 20 overall. You mentioned Pat Pidden got the win. Zoe Lowe and Anna Nordforce both finished in a tie for 13th at 3 under par. And true freshman Pempissa Sutham, nicknamed Sandwich, was finished in a tie for 16th at 1 under. So and of course that 834, that beat their program record, but I believe was like 7 strokes before. And Pat Pidden, she also has she has now the lowest 54-hole to par score in program history, and the second lowest 54-hole stroke total in program history, which is actually just 2 strokes behind the mark she herself set when she shot a 200 back at Old Dominion last season. So there is a whole bunch that you can say about Pidden and this women's golf team. They also, of course, have the women's amateur champion and Jess Baker as well. I think this group has a lot of talent behind it, and they've already gotten off to a great start to this season so far. And I think this season has solidified the fact that I think this is going to be a group to watch.
Yeah, and then the men's team also, they won the Hartford Hawks Invitational for the 5th straight year. They finished minus 35 as a team. Louis Carrera also won the individual medalist with a score of 200 even, 16 under par. And UCF fired their lowest, according to their release here, lowest round in program history in the second round combined. They shot 266. That's 22 under par. Beating the old record achieved at the FAU Invitational in 2019 of 268, which was 20 under. I don't think you can start the season much better than that.
I would say so. Carrera also actually shot the second lowest 18-hole score in program history thanks to his second round 63. Ever since he won the Canadian Men's Amateur over the offseason, I was very impressed to see that, because last season, this team barely squeaked into the regional. This is one of the reasons why I think this was a very good start to the season, because they did well in the tournament last year. That 829, 35 under they finished with, that's the score they had last year at this tournament. But through the rest of the year, it was touch and go, and they barely made the regional. And one of the reasons I think they did was because they had 2 really good golfers in Johnny Travale and Teddy Tic-Tac. Travale is back this year. He also actually finished tied for second in this one, just behind Carrera with also the same score that he had last year with 205, 11 under par. But they need another person to replace Teddy T-Tac to pair up with Chevalier that can help at least bare minimum get them to the regional. And I think Louis Carrera has the potential to be that, because I've seen some good improvement over the course of the beginning of last season. Either him or Igor Eroshenko, who's coming into his junior season. He finished in a tie for 12th place at 1 under par. And Arkansas transfer Juan Camilo Vesga and true freshman Chase Haygood also had some solid performances. So I'm interested to see with this men's golf team. It's a good start to the season, but I would like to see what else they can do moving forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, 5 straight in the at that one invitation. Why does Hartford keep inviting us? We keep winning their tournament.
Maybe that's why they're moving down to Division 3.
Right. All right. So that's going to. Anything else we got? I don't think so. I think we're in pretty good shape.
Like I said, it's
cross-country history got made.
Oh, cross country. Yeah, I wanted to get that in real quick.
Oh yeah, so basically they were at the North Alabama Showcase, and Isabella Richardson. I talked to her video from the UCF Invites up on the Black and Gold Banneret YouTube channel. She finished 17th place overall, but her 17:12.38 time in the 5K, her second official 5K on American soil, by the way, is the 4th fastest in program history, blowing past the freshman record by more than 30 seconds and just barely under 3rd place. Absolutely amazing performance by Isabella Richardson.
Yeah, so I wanted to get that in because congrats to Isabella. She's the new star of this team on the cross-country team. I can't wait to see what she does in the track and field season 2. So, all right. That's going to do it for us here at the Black and Gold Banneret. Remember, you can follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com. We are SB Nation's home for UCF sports. Follow us on social media all over the place. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on YouTube. Hit the YouTube channel and get all the latest from us at press conferences, post games, you name it. And we are on Twitter at UCF Banneret_SBN. You can follow us individually, Jeff_Sharon, Eric Lopez Elo. It's Bryson Turner. Also, Statboy Drew for Andrew, and also the SOTG for the student of the game to follow Kyle _DS Warden. That's Derek Warden for our, one of our 2 photographers, along with the Noah Goldberg, our other photographer. Fantastic work, guys. Appreciate it. Another busy week rolling through. Again, Saturday, 4 p.m., Georgia Tech, boys. The Yellow Jackets are coming to town. Is Jeff Collins going to be staying here? I don't know. It's going to be, but either way, hey, UCF is favorite for this game. Should be good. Nice afternoon kickoff. Maybe we'll get a beautiful sunset evening. And you know what else too? Real quick, as we get out of here, rocket launch scheduled for Saturday at about 7:30. SpaceX from the Cape. So that should be as we're heading home.
Are you doing PA for that?
For the rocket launch? No.
Yeah. You're gonna watch.
I would love to. I'm going to watch it from the press box. I'll probably give everybody a heads up if it's happening. But, yeah, I mean, I'm excited. What a day. What a huge day. It's going to be great. All right. Follow us here at Black and Gold Banneret. I'm Jeff Sharon saying thanks for listening. Go Knights. Charge on. We'll talk to you for Night Shift on Saturday night.